So, hello everybody, or if anybody's going to watch. I think tonight I want to carve up some leather. Thinking a hat band. This one's missing a tooth, so maybe I'll make a hat band for it. I also so a hat band, really honestly, is just a simple band that goes around your hat. This one I've done some, stitching on. We could do that on here. This is a little bit thicker leather, but that's okay. The way I like to tie up the back of them, I've got a different system than just a knot now. The front, this one I stitched the teeth onto, but they're brittle up here and they keep breaking. This one is broken out. So what I'm thinking is I do like this piece of malachite. I've set it in leather. We could set another stone in leather. We might end up heading that direction. But so to make a band for this hat, this one's it's a pretty good looking hat band, and I'm definitely not gonna get rid of it. But I like how white it is. It's just about as white as I like it. This I wouldn't mind. Now that I've worn this hat for a long time, it's pretty much broken into how I pinch it and put it on and take it off and whatnot. So I wouldn't mind maybe covering up right here a little bit with something. So that could be a shape for the leather maybe. This stone is called Sonoran Sunset. I do like that color of blue. And on my hat, look at how good that stands out. That might be, there's too many decisions to make. Where's my Does everybody kind of get what I'm going here? So now I need to draw what it is that I want to carve into the leather. That's going to be the stone, and then this is all left for us to carve into. So I'm going to draw it on one half. And like I said, I'm going to do it kind of a desert landscape. So nothing real complicated. I'll keep it pretty kind of easy for sake of time, kind of. I like to have about 1/8 of an inch between that stone or the edge of anything. I like to have about 1/8 of an inch for a border. It brings the carving kind of in. You'll see as I'm carving it. So I'm going to draw about 1/8 of an inch. Border. Okay, so this is a rough, just a rough guess. So now that's going to be what is referred to as my tooling window. So anything inside of that is, I'm going to draw a picture, and I'm going to carve it in there. So desert landscape, we should do a nice tower, kind of buttress tower-ish. with maybe some spires. I live in Moab, Utah. And this is familiar scenery for around here. So a couple spires, and then as we get a little bit into the taller area over here, I want to do some mountains. Some nice, easy mountains, maybe with another spire. I got this kind of spot right here where I need to fill in. So here's what I've been doing. These are spires. That is not a spire. That is a spire. That is a spire. It's very manly spire. So we'll change that up a bit. Make it more into a monument with maybe so that's about as rough as I need to really get it. That gives me an idea of what's going to be on the leather. Right? So let's get the leather ready now. Don't want to touch this inky thing to the leather. I don't want the ink on the leather. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to cut this nice clean section out with, can you guess the tool I'm about to show you? It's amazing. Really good invention. Scissors. Oh, my sarcasm kills me sometimes. I'm going to cut on so I'm just going to line. Now, for the purposes of the leather, I do not need to know where that stone is. So I just cut right through it. There is the shape of our hatband. All right, back to hatbands. It's a cute distraction. I need to copy that to that side. I also have a glass workbench. So what I do with this bench, I don't have anything underneath it. So I have a little light here. I just turn it on. I put what I want to trace over it. Light shines through. I can see it just fine. So let me just really quickly trace this out. why don't we just cut this leather out and then I'll cut down. Straight edge, it's plenty wide. So I can just cut along this edge. Set that out of the way. Set that out of the way. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up with the bottom so we don't have to cut the leather so much. Now, to transfer the drawing from the paper to the leather, I don't want to just like flip it over and scratch like I did. I don't want the ink on the leather. So I have to get the leather wet. When you're going to carve leather, you're going to stamp it, you're going to do whatever you're going to do to veg tan leather, needs to be wet. That's why I have a squirt bottle. I'm not going to squirt it straight on my bench. I'm going to squirt it right over here. I think you guys can still see this. So, one I missed. I'm going to let some water soak into it. So, I don't know if you guys, what I want to do is I want to put this on the leather. I need to be careful. When the leather is wet, any little teeny tiny scuff, fingernails, anything is going to leave a mark in the finished leather. I may not see it now, but when I go to put the finishes and the stains and everything on it, I definitely will. So I get this nice and straight. I like how that looks on there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I'm going to tape down the very edges because I don't want this to move. That's where I want that carving picture thing to go. So masking tape. I don't want the leather to move. I don't want the paper to move. I don't want anything to move. So there, nice and secure. Now this part, if I use the big pen, so with the chrome tan leather, there's tannins that are inside of the leather. When you make an impression into the leather, those tannins come out. So as I draw or I write on the piece of paper, just the pressure from the pen will make enough of an impression into the leather and bring those tannins out, and it leaves the lines on the leather. So then I basically have my pattern and we're ready to carve. So I'll improvise. I don't want to use a pen. This is called a carving spoon. It's one of the tools that I use when I'm doing the carvings of the leather. All I have to do is make an impression. I don't have to draw anything. So this side's nice and round and smooth. It shouldn't cut through the paper or anything, and it should leave a nice impression. So I'm just going to use that. It's good enough. So here all I want is to know where the stone is and where these lines for the picture. So here's the stone. These that I'm scratching in are just guidelines. I'm going to leave the whole entire, any detail in the picture, I'm going to leave it well away from the edge. Lines down. So I'm all done tracing that out. It really does not take very long. So now I can remove my pattern or my template. It's really hard to see. There's my dots from my stone and where my stone goes. Maybe you can see it better that way. So you get the gist of where it is that I want to do this freehand carving. I take my paper and I put it somewhere where I can continue to look at it and refer back to it. I like, when I'm doing the initial carving, I like a nice deep cut. I want to go about 2/3 of the way through the leather, not all the way through it. I'm not trying to cut it up for sewing. So here is my ceramic tip swivel knife. It swivels right here. This is the tough part always for me is seeing these lines. I always need more light. It never seems like I have enough. Stone right here. So I'm going to scratch in where I want to cut the leather. I'm going to trace out the top part of the try to match up the design. It doesn't have to be a perfect match, but that's close enough. And trace out the top where I want to cut. So you can see the difference between a line that I've cut with my swivel knife and the line that I've just scratched into it with my scratch awl. That is where I'm going to cut. That is the top of my hat band. I do that with now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, like I mentioned earlier, I like a 1/8 of an inch border, which these are set at 2/8, I believe. Nope. It's perfect. That's an 1/8 of an inch. That is my border. So these are pointing. They don't have pencils or anything. It's just your normal wing dividers. So I want to make my border along the bottom. It doesn't matter what we do over here because we're going to be stitching on that extension piece. And I want the design to go underneath it. The top part I'm going to follow as closely as I can to the edge of the stone where it's going to go and to the edge. And I'm going to cut that in with my swivel knife. There's what it's going to look like. So This is the bottom of the hat band. Obviously, the top line is going to be my cut line. I'm going to end up trimming that off. So that top line, big fat bar up there, is actually going to just be leather. This is all getting removed. This is where the stone's going to go. Okay. Time to get carving. So with carving, people call it carving. It is different than carving wood. We are not removing material. We're going to create depth in there by pushing some down in like layers, I guess you could say. So when I'm going to do a freehand carving like this, I want to think about what is in the foreground versus what is in the background and kind of go from there. I want to add I want, for lack of a better, obviously I want the mountains in the background. I want that in the foreground. I want that in the foreground. I want that in kind of the middle ground. And then I'm going to repeat over here. The whole thing I want to look as if it's carved into the leather. So I need to create some depth. And I do that very first by beveling the whole entire border. So I did the one border. See how it kind of angled versus that side. So it's already kind of making it look like it's being carved out of the leather, although I smashed it down. So the dark. So that's both sides done. Looks pretty good. So now, as I was saying earlier, it's time to figure out what I want in the foreground and what I want in the background. This and this, the little spires are definitely foreground. Pretty much it's just going to work its way back into the mountains. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with these guys. I'm going to bevel those very first. The little hills are just kind of to give the bottom part of those what's going to look like a rocky spire. Somewhere for that, to end. I don't want it to necessarily look like it's behind this hill. I want it to look like that hill is part of it. So when I bevel, I'm actually going to stop where they meet. You'll see what I mean here in a moment. What I'm doing is I'm just beveling all those lines that I cut. So you can see it better in here where I have beveled down the little heel that's in front. Like I said, I don't want these to look like they're behind it. I want them to look like they're part of it. So I did not bevel that yet. Same with on these ones. So I'll do the same thing here. I won't be beveling that part of the line. But once I get done with this, we'll be able to see kind of basically what's in the foreground versus kind of the middle and the background. Okay, I've gone through and I've beveled all the lines. I know it's still pretty rough looking, but it'll get better. So I'm going to do the same thing to this side. So that's just with the lines cut. That is also what they would refer to as a finger carving. So that's with just the lines cut. That is with the lines cut and beveled. Okay. Oh, I missed one there. Fix that. Actually, I didn't miss it. It's just not that good. Okay, the next step is setting the background. The sky is always the background. If this was a geometric pattern, any spots in between lines, or if it was a Celtic knot, any of the spaces between the knot itself would be considered a background. So in this case, the background is the sky. So I have different, these ones make little dots. There's all sorts of backgrounders, there's checkers, there's basket weaves, there's so many things that you can do in the background. Really, you can do anything in the background, but the idea is to smash down the rest of that leather to really make the other parts seem like have been, embossed into it. Kind of around that first little monument right here. So I've got the background done. Kind of see how everything else now looks like it's in a foreground, but you know, there's some depth to it. So at this point, I use that tool that I showed you earlier. This is the modeling tool that I like to use. It's a spoons. It has a smaller spoon on this side and a pointy spoon that's a little bit bigger on this side. So when I do this, the leather needs to be just a little bit more dry than it is. So this works basically just like a pencil. I use the tannins in the leather. This will make an impression in it when I push, and I use the tannins in the leather to create like the shading, kind of like a pencil. So I'm just going to go through and I'm going to put some detail in here. So that's after the modeling spoon. That's before the modeling spoon. So now I'm going to do kind of a similar thing. It's not going to be exact because this is all done, you know, by hand, not a machine. This turns out. These are just super cheap disposable brushes. This is leather dye, by the way. Okay, so these are leather stains. basically just kind of helping out all the oil and everything I'm going to put on it here in a second, which is going to change it and blend a lot of this together, and we're going to antique it. And so I do need to let it dry a little bit more. While it dries, before we do all that fun stuff and finish this leather, pardon me, we need to, one, close the dye lid. Done with these. I'm going to put them. So where I want the antique and the oil and stuff to soak in a little bit more, I like to take, I don't really ever see many other leather workers doing this, but after I've got to this point, I like to take my swivel knife and reopen up, I guess you could say, some of the marks and some of the cuts, just to help, it's a good way to describe it, help that antique and stuff stick a little bit deeper and darker. Right? I tend to go overboard with detail, so I try to tell myself to stop at a certain point where I know it's not too much. Never know if it's enough or not. And then the last little part of what I do here before we're done is, if I want anything to really like pop out at me and be almost three-dimensional, now's the time where I have to put those in there. And I'm kind of thinking the towers that I wanted in the foreground, I think I want to make them look even more like it there in the foreground. So you do that with what's called a lifter tool. But I lifted up underneath these guys, which actually brought it up this way. So that's really the only step of carving in leather where you bring it up. I don't know if you can see that. Okay, I'll let this dry. So while that dries, we need to figure out how to hook this stone to this piece of leather. And what I'm thinking is copper wire. We'll poke some holes in the leather. We'll make the setting out of copper wire, and then we'll feed it down through the holes, and we can attach it to the backside. So basically we just need to make a setting that wraps around the front of the stone and has pegs, for lack of a better description. So let me get some, I'm going to use copper, get some copper and a couple tools. So I'm going to use, I believe this is 22 gauge, 20 gauge, 18 gauge, right in there, square copper wire. I'm going to use this piece of Sonoran Sunset. I need a couple more things. So this piece of wire really only needs to go, just this much somewhere around, and then we want to have enough extra to poke through the leather and then attach to the backside. So I'm thinking, we should be safe with this much wire. I need new snipper tools. Mine suck. going to bend these around the backside. Now I have a nice little hug going on with my stone, so I can take it out. I need to bend these upwards. This is where it wraps around. That's the edge of the stone, so I'm just going to hold it. I want to give her a little bit behind so we don't see these posts. And I'll hold it, say, here, and I'm going to just bend it straight up. I'll hold it here, I'm going to bend it straight up. Put the stone back in there. Fits nice. Make these straight. So that's what's going to plug through the leather. And we're going to hook it. So you're probably, somebody, maybe if I leave it in there, is going to say that stone's going to fall out of there. See, just like it just did. See, it's not really, this is not a setting. It is a decoration. So what I'm going to do to make it a setting, I want this to be really shiny. I want it to be protected. And I want it to look like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use clear acrylic ultraviolet resin. This stuff. It's otherwise known as cheap shit. Cheap shit. Have it in here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dip this, get it exactly perfect, because once I dip it, I don't want to be messing with it anymore. Bad. See how that happened? That's why we're going to do what I'm about to do. So what we do is we get it exactly perfect. I'm going to hold it exactly where I want it. I'm going to take just a little drop of the resin and I'm going to stick it right there and right there, just the bottom of those posts. Going to harden it. This stuff hardens pretty much instantly with a ultraviolet light when you shine it at it. So that's nice and hard. So now that stone doesn't fall out of there. Cool, right? I'm going to take the jug of it. I'm going to dip the whole stone in it. And bring it out. I'm going to let the excess dribble off. When there's enough of it off, I roll it around to get it nice and even. When it's nice and even, I hold the top of it horizontally to the floor. That creates a nice even dome. And I harden it starting from the inside of it outwards. Like I said, it happens quickly. So I start on the inside and I work my way out. Start on the inside, work my way out. Now the bottom is still runny. So I'll just rock it back and forth. Because nobody's going to see the back side of this, I don't worry about how even it is. I wanted the top side really nice. Okay, so this resin is now hard. It's set. It's not going to move anywhere. That wire is coated in the resin, which is wrapped around the rock. And so now I have something that is super shiny. It's gorgeous. It's elegant. It's easy. There's not a lot of metal sticking out. I am much more of the rock guy than I am the jeweler guy, but I do enjoy making the jewelry out of the rocks. So here it is, kind of a, what do they call it? It's nice and dry. It's set.
Son of a bitch.
Now I have two pretty big holes. So now we're going to put the wires through it. And that's where it's going to sit. So I don't think with this nice, good setting, I don't think we need anything extra above it. So now I'm going to cut off all the extra leather. This is one of the big advantages of having a glass workbench. It's being able to cut right on the bench. So I've cut off my excess. There's my hat band. I brought over the little torch. I want to do a burned edge on this. That around something. It's quick, it's easy, and I have really been liking the way it's looking when I've been goofing off with it. So I'm going to take this little blowtorch lighter thingy and I'm going to burn the edge before I seal it. This poor piece of leather, I have now drowned it, I've smashed it, I've cut it, I've beveled it, I've burned it, I've stained it. It's time to give it some love. It's crunchy, it's hard. I'm going to use quite a few different things here. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way. With all my watching everybody else, seems like everybody does this the same way but different. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply some neat's foot oil. That's going to help kind of open back up the pores, and it's going to help moisturize the leather again and get it a little bit more supple. I don't want a lot on it, so I'm going to use my dirty rag towel. I'm just going to dab my finger in there. And just really quickly and lightly, I'm just going to go over, starting in the middle. Okay, that's about all I really need of that. You can already see the difference in the color. So I'm just going to, just with that much on there, take my fingers and get some friction and kind of warm it all up. Help it run through the leather. When I can see that it's all soaked in and I don't see any more shiny spots, I'm going to do some leather balm. This is going to kind of help clean it and get it ready for the finishing stuff that I do to it. And once I put the sealer on there, it's a permanent thing. No moisture should get in there. It should stay the same. So I'm going to use this balm. I'm going to clean it and help shine it up. And here again, it's just like a lotion for your skin. It's going to help soften up the leather a bit. So here I use quite a bit, pretty liberal. Get it all over it. Nice good thick coat of it. I'm going to do the edges with the leather balm. This starts sealing them and slicking them. So while this soaks in and moving it around kind of helps it get in all the nooks and the crannies. So I've rubbed it in the top edge. Now I'm going to rub it in the bottom edge. I'm going to take, because it's soaked in for long enough, I'm going to take and wipe off all the excess. Really doesn't take very long for these products to soak into the leather. It is thirsty. So I don't know if you guys can tell a difference in just looking at it. It doesn't look like it's nearly as crunchy. It's way more, it's softening up. So that oil is going to continue to cruise through it. And that's just up on top. So the last part of finishing this, second to last part, is I want to get all the fuzzies off this back edge so that way when it's on the hat, it has a much nicer edge on it. So I have, and I'm sure anybody that's worked with leather has seen them. It's an edge beveler. Typically people will use a handle with them. Something like this with this tip in it would look like that. Right? I don't use the handle. I don't know why. I'm silly guy. I'm just going to use it. I'm just going to bevel the edge and get all those fuzzies off real quick. Give it just a much nicer look. I would have done this to the front, but I want that burn on there. I chose to burn the front rather than bevel it. So cut off that one. And that is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use mink oil. Mink oil is going to waterproof this and condition it. So I'm going to cover the thing in mink oil. The neat's foot oil is just kind of a starter to kind of help everything run through the leather. This comes from the same animal that leather came from. The leather balm was just to kind of help condition it, get it a little bit more soft. This is to waterproof it and really so I want a lot of this on here. So I'm going to take, this is actually why I brought the gloves out. I'm just going to coat it in mink oil. I figure if I put a lot of it on there, I don't have to worry about it coating unevenly just because there's going to be an excess amount of it. I'm also going to do the back of it. This will help slick down the rest of that leather. The suede side will no longer look suede. So I'm going to rub it in. Get her all in the front, every nook, every cranny. And I'm going to let it sit. So that's filling pretty good. Just going to wipe off the excess. Now with that mink oil, nice and wet, nice and not all the way soaked in yet. This is when I'm going to slick my edges. That wooden tool that I brought out earlier, it's just a piece of wood with just different round things carved into it. I'm going to take and I'm just going to rub it on the edges. This is called slicking. So there is one final thing to do to this. See how nice and soft it is now? It's not all crunchy. The final thing to do, I like to let this oil and the waxes and everything soak more into it. But this is what it's gonna. This is done. The last thing I do is the Resin Sealer, surface sealer. Just takes a second, and I'll do that before we set the stone on it. Okay, so this side of the hide, now let's move back. Lays down in the direction of the cut the best, or the way I want it to go. So I want 1.5 inches. When I cut this, I don't like to cut against. So the fur is laying down to where I rub it, it's going this way, if that makes sense. That's anti-fur that way. So when I make my cut, I want to come this way. This piece is, we need 2 pieces that are 4 inches long, so that's 8 inches. Okay, there's our 2 extension pieces. I got to decide now if I want to do some, decorative stitching into it, which I don't think I want to do. I think what will look nice is we'll cut the corners and give it a nice, 45-degree angle cut. There's our 2 pieces that are going to go on like that. I'm going to use this hole punch. Punches 1/8 of an inch holes that are 3/8 of an inch, 3/16 of an inch apart from one another. So I can see my holes in the top, right? And they go all the way through. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mark on here where I need to punch more holes. So I want them to be at least 1/8 of an inch in from this side. So I'm going to take that whole line that I just did. I'm going to take my fancy awl, and I'm going to put dots everywhere that I need to punch a hole so that they line up exactly the same as they do going through the fur. I got to punch those holes. I'm going to okay. Let the stitching begin. I use a John James needle. It's blunt. It's not sharp. You may call it saddle needle or something. I always like to do white. White's my favorite. Sometimes I do black, sometimes I do gray, but for the most part it's white. I'm not going to need a whole bunch. Cool. So this is one thing I learned. I don't need that hook to it anymore because I know this side goes here. I'm going to start from the back side so that I can hide my knot, and I'm going to start right in the middle. So same thing, just tie it off. Tiger thread is strong stuff. Okay, there's our extensions. So I'm going to punch 2 holes for each one of these, and it is this size, I believe. One up. Okay, in there. Another little buddy next to it. Same thing on this side. I don't think I punched those big enough. I never do. Hear the police. Okay, hat band's done. It is time to put the stone on it. Oh wait, we need to seal it first. That's right. My favorite sealer is Resolene. Just needs a dab on my super clean cloth. Apply it pretty liberally. Go down the edges. And let that dry. Okay, dry enough. So I need to let it dry so that I could shine it. Same cloth. Just gonna lightly rub it. Basically polishing it. And there we have it. Desert landscape, mountains in the background. Now it's time to put stone on it. It's all ready. All we got to do is poke it through. I'm going to bend it this way. That is all I'm going to do. That is going to be plenty to hold that stone against that hat band, just like you can see. Inside the hat where it's going to be tied to a hat, so it's not going to come off. This will bend. It'll shape to the hat, and I don't know. It's not going to come undone. If I want to take and replace this with any stone at any time, I can easily make another little guy for it and take this one off really easy. I might actually decide that I want to make a necklace pendant out of this or something, because it's a really, really cool stone. Lace these together like it's shoelaces. Starting from the top so the knot is down near the brim. Tidy in the back. This put it on the hat mold just simply to give it some rigidity so I don't over tighten it. I'll tell you, cool little something knot. I thread this up and through. So that goes tight. And tight. For the time being, there we have it. Now the real test. Yeah. It's pretty good
I
for
like
a
it better than
4-5 hour project.
Yeah.
All right. If you like this, please like and comment. What is it that I'm supposed
Like,
to say?
comment, and
Like,
subscribe.
comment, subscribe. Yes, do all those things. You can follow me too if you want. So yeah, made that instead of that. Still like this one. It'll definitely be going on another hat. Alrighty, until the next video. See you later.